Share my screen.
No, you're good. I still have control.
Okay, that's good. That is a relief.
Whoa.
You ready?
Okay. We should be live. Everything is slow to upload, but welcome back, everybody. We're here. We're doing our market analysis. My name's Tanisha. I'm with Brick by Brick Real Estate. We've got Brian here. I'm going to be watching the messaging here on Brick by Brick. So if you have any questions on the Facebook page, feel free to answer them, and we're happy to address them here. Today, we're going over cost of waiting. So essentially, what this means is we're talking about if you're in a rental situation right now and you're thinking about buying a home, how much time do you have? What does it cost you within the market as far as associating kind of a dollar value to, does it make sense to buy a house tomorrow, or do I have time with my current circumstances to buy a house in a year? What does that look like? How does the market react? All of those good things. So now I will go ahead and make you the host. So you have it now, Brian.
Okay, should I share screen?
Yes, please do.
Tell me it works. You can see my screen, right?
No, I'm lying. Yes, we can.
Oh, don't be joking. That's not even funny.
You're good. You did it. We're here.
He's a comedian. Okay, so what we wanted to look at is just one example of cost of waiting, meaning if I want to buy a home today or wait for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And so what a lot of times happens with people, and I'm the same way, I know Steve, you are as well, is we make choices in life about buying or doing what we're doing, right? And it's often helpful to quantify what those decisions are. What will the resulting cost be if we wait or do, whatever it is. And so here's what we're doing. We're going to look at a home, and we just took some plain Jane house, some generic house in Salt Lake County for $530,000 right here. Whoops, for $530,000. That's the purchase price as of today, let's say. And so what we were looking at is if you want to wait to purchase, which often may be a good idea, but let's just see what it means. Wait, if you want to save more down payment, or you think we can fix some credit issues, or a new job coming up, or a raise or something like that. What is the cost of that? Well, here's a good example. So take these, we have 4 columns here. The first one is if you just bought this house today at $530,000, as you can see right here, right there. We like my little circle thing.
Yeah, it's new.
Oh yeah, it's a new feature.
Wow.
And we just did a plain, kind of a 3% down, regular conventional loan, nothing fancy. And this is what it would look like as of today, right? So that's the house, it's $530,000. Well, there's how much you'd borrow. Same loan here. This is what the down payment would be, and approximately what rates are right now, interest rates are.
Okay.
So,
quick question for you. If someone's looking at this and thinking, okay, I don't have 12 grand in my back pocket, I feel like it's good to illustrate, that's one of those examples of, or a very good reasons of why you may need to wait.
correct.
In what cases would it apply if someone doesn't have a down payment? Because I know in the past with most of these, when we get to this quarter, in the past, we've done options where you could do 0 down. So that took away that factor.
Right.
So at what price point for first-time home buyers is a 0 down option available to them?
That's a great question. It depends on a couple factors. In Salt Lake County, it's about mid 400s range, and that's the Utah housing program. There is a rural housing option that we do a lot of. Not as much in Salt Lake County because there are very few areas where that's eligible, but that's kind of what you're looking at. You start getting over, 475, 480 and higher, it gets real tough for the 0 down stuff.
So if someone's like, I can afford a house payment at 530, because I think the difference between 530 and 400 is a big gap as far as what house you can get, right?
Correct, yeah.
So if someone's like, awesome, I'd love to buy a house now, but I don't have the down payment, even though I can afford that 530 option, I guess the conversation I'm usually having with them is like, is there a home that we could use as a stepping stone to, build equity in,
right,
figure out how to increase our financial stability to be able to get that as a second step home? Or does it make sense within how much time is it going to take us in order to purchase this? If it's going to take us 5 years to save up 12 grand, pinching our pennies, what does the market look like in that 5 years? And so I think it's, as people are getting into home buying, I hear a lot of times like, oh, I'm just going to wait. But attaching a monetary value and realizing, okay, if I do wait, there is a cost, there is risk. It's easy to just kind of keep comfortable where we're at. And so I'm hoping that through this illustration, it'll help, but just illustrate that if this isn't your circumstance, if you're at a lower price point, at a higher price point, all of these factors can be adapted for you specifically. And so I know at the end, we'll usually send out invites, but as we're going through this, if anyone's watching and they're like, hey, I'm curious to know what this is for me, that's what we're here for. So that with down payment was just one of those. So I wanted to chime in, but
yeah, that's good.
No,
that's a good point. Yeah, and they're very customizable. We do these we run these reports all the time, and we can run them on multiple properties too. In fact, in multiple areas too, because we have some data and what we have, and we'll go over that here right now, actually, that shows what we think the appreciation, or in other words, what we think the home values will do in pretty specific areas by county and even smaller areas of counties. We can kind of give some good guesses there. And so, and here along those same lines, so let's say, for example, you said, hey, if I waited 6 months for whatever reason, pay increase, coming into, money will be available, whatever it is. Here's what would happen on this particular house on 530,000. That house is today for 530,000. Well, we believe the appreciation over the next 6 months is going to be 3.75%. That's what we're using in this example. And that seems to be, we're trying to be a little conservative on our estimates. If you look back over the last few years, over some of our estimates, we've been a little low, but that's okay. So here's, you take that same house that was for sale for 530,000 would now be 549,800, so almost 550. 550,000. So what that does is, it's not just the purchase price of the home going up, it's of course your loan amount goes up. And of course your down payment goes up a little bit as well. And that's what happens over time when you're in an appreciating market like we are now, is that everything just goes up and up and up. And while you can save money.
This scenario too, with our interest rate, we also have no clue, like we can guess, but that's also a factor. And if the past 4 or 5 months have taught us anything, it's kind of to be on our toes as far as what assumptions we can make. Right. There's so many outside factors that could happen. I mean, COVID, we thought was going to be a one and done, and now there's multiple strains. I mean, it's impossible to know, but we can kind of break it down into bite-sized pieces in the sense of, okay, I can run market analysis in specific areas to see how they've reacted to whatever circumstances and kind of project in these small pieces for what it may look like. And so I agree with Brian in the sense of the more conservative we are, the more we can plan for a rainy day, the more prepared we'll go into it. But within this market, when I see the 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, I'm like, who knows? But we're going to do our best guess. And if you're adamant of okay, I really think, I want to see an appreciation rate on this number or on this, we're happy to kind of dial it in on those notes as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's continuing on to year number 1. So if you wait 1 year from today in this situation, in this example, so we think we'll run about an 8.83. That's our prediction for appreciation this next 12 months. And so that same $530,000 house here goes to, let me use my circle. You're about 576. I like that. I know it's basic. I'm the last guy to figure it out. So you go from 530 to 576. That's 8.8%. And of course, the loans go up and all that with that. It gets higher and higher. And as far as interest rates go, interest rates are doing really well. Our biggest concern with interest rates, which is always the case, is inflation numbers, the national inflation. So inflation is the arch enemy of interest rates. So if inflation increases, then interest rates will increase with that. And what's been happening is at the federal level, the Federal Reserve has been doing a lot of trickery to keep interest rates down. lot of trickery, and their stance is that this inflation that everyone sees is kind of they call it transitory or temporary. So that's going to go on for so long, but we think rates will increase over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and so we figured that in as well.
What do you think the biggest contributor towards that temporary or short-term inflation has been?
Well, it's just a combination of coming out of COVID, kind of, I guess. But then we got this, it's kind of coming back again. But it's been supply and demand. There's been a lot of tremendous demand worldwide. You've had shipping problems. I read an article about the shipping time from China to Chicago has gone from like 30 something days to 75 days because they're short of truck drivers, and supply chains are all messed up. And then the retailers are ordering extra stuff from a lot of these Chinese manufacturers because they don't know what they're going to get. So they're just ordering everything. So it's kind of a mess. So the economy is just jammed up in with shipping and all sorts of things. And all that is inflationary. It causes prices to go up on everything. Fuel's up. There's some government, regulation that's kind of come into play and things like that. So everything points to inflation, except the Federal Reserve refuses to acknowledge it, which.
Well, at the same time, I feel like we're trying to hold on to any stability that we have, right?
Yeah.
All these things
we'll take anything we can get. Yeah.
And we're just like, hey, let's just kind of like hold on to one thing to keep things stable a little bit longer. Hopefully the levels, other places will kind of bottom out. So as one starts creeping up, we can kind of find ourselves in a new normal. But it's interesting, at least from what I've kind of seen, is there's been so many different pockets that have influenced things that in a normal market would be completely unrelated, like shipping times, like you bring that up. And
right. Yeah.
Housing market, home values, and so there's all of these different aspects of change that's happening that is now directly impacting real estate, which hasn't been a part of our makeup or discussion until now, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of very interesting. Yeah, there's you could talk about this all day.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, we think that's the trajectory we're looking at. I think it's pretty conservative, pretty reasonable. There's just tremendous demand in Utah in general for housing, and it's not letting up.
Interesting too on that note is in our last market analysis, we were talking about, and this was maybe 2 ago, all the demand from outside states because of our price point and whatnot. And a lot of that has gone down now because we've skyrocketed so quickly that someone from an outside perspective who at the beginning of the year could have bought a house here and now it's here, that is going to cut out a market of interest from out of state that may not be coming in now. And so there's other factors like that where it's so interesting to me how it's literally on a monthly basis. But I feel like every time we get to this conversation, we have to clear the slate, start from ground zero and say, okay, what does the world look like right now? What does it look like in the next 6 months? And kind of recapping on what we're looking at, 3.75 or 3.75% isn't a drastic change, between now and the next 6 months. Yes, that's going to impact maybe an extra $1,000 down, maybe an extra $100 a month, something like that. But I feel like that's within a pivot point of attainability. But I look at that 8.83 number and I'm like, wow, now we're tripling it. And that's a year, that's only 6 months more. So it's just kind of like putting on the perspective or the heat of, okay, if I can make a change, it's going to be my best interest within the next 6 months because I'm still able to attain it. After that 1 year mark, I may need to talk to Aunt Susie and say, hey, do you want to gift me part of my down payment? And that's something I want to talk to you about as well is, are there things that people can take advantage of if they're like, look, I can afford the house, I have the income to, what are like the top deal breakers of someone not being able to take the jump earlier rather than later? And what would you say could be some alternatives for them?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. The number one, and depending on the price range, I guess, and in fact, this price range here, 530-ish, the down payment becomes the big issue because the sales price is high enough to where you're kind of exceeded most of the zero down payment loans out there, the subsidized, government help loans that we call them, the down payment assistance programs. you're all in the kind of, you're out of that range. And so down payment becomes an issue, but the down payment does not necessarily have to be your own money. You could get it from Aunt Sally. Was it Aunt? Which aunt was it? Yeah, one of your.
I have so many aunts. They all start with the letter S.
Yes, Aunt S, fill in the blank. Yeah. So Aunt Sally might, or a couple of relatives might kick in a few dollars to help you that. So gift funds are available. Some people have retirement accounts that they can borrow against. Sometimes that's a good idea. Sometimes it's not, but it really depends on what the terms are and what the situation is. We have a lot of people who say, hey, the stock market's been killing it. My 401k has grown gangbusters and the stock market's due for a correction, right? It's due to go down. Then some people say, well, I'll just borrow against my 401k, because usually on a 401k loan with your employer, what generally happens is you borrow a percentage of your 401k's value, and then you pay yourself back payments with interest. And so you pay yourself back. And while the money's been lent to you, from your 401k to you, that money is no longer in the stock market. So the theory is, heck, if the stock market gets beat up, I might as well just borrow the money temporarily and pay it back. So there's all sorts of different options we can use as down payment.
And it sounds like, this is kind of Brian's wheelhouse, but if you're coming in and you're kind of one path and you're like, nope, I can't make this work, just know that there may be options. We can get creative. We can figure out what makes sense for you. And just like Brian said, it may not be the best idea. Just because an option is there doesn't mean that it's worth taking. And so being able to get all the marbles on the table to analyze, if this, then that, and see from a big picture, maybe it's worth waiting a year. Maybe it's worth waiting the full 3 years. It really just depends on you. And what our goal is not necessarily to convince you one way or another. It's just to be able to provide all the information so you can make an educated decision. And there's no cost to do that. And so in my opinion, if you want to make a plan, the best thing is just to start having that conversation so you don't have to guess and don't pick a number out of the sky of like, what, maybe next year, maybe that could be in the next couple of months. Maybe really it should be in the next 3 years. Like, start giving yourselves the opportunity to make a plan that's unique and tailored to exactly where you want to be based off of your circumstances.
Right. And there's really nothing, and the other issues some people have is credit. And we deal with credit fixes all the time. And there are very few people who are just unfixable, meaning it's a matter of time. And we can make a plan to get your credit up to where it needs to be. It's just a matter of time and making a plan. Because if you're trying to fix credit, be it your credit scores are too low because your debt's too high, or is a collection account hanging out, we have all sorts of tricks of the trade we can deal with. And like I said, it's just a matter of time and strategy to get credit fixed. That's another big one.
Awesome. All right, jump in. I want to hear about these little graphic things. What am I looking at here?
Oh yeah. So this is just kind of a graphical representation of these numbers up here. So the idea is here that if you bought this house we're talking about today, your payment's about $2,400 or so, right? About right there, that lower. Let me get the circle right there.
Oh, I didn't see it before, but now.
Exactly. I know it. Greatest discovery ever. So in 6 months, your payment goes up $2,500 or so, right there. And as time goes on, because you're borrowing more money and we think interest rates will be higher, the combination of those two, kind of the 1-2 punch, you end up with a higher payment, higher payment, higher payment. So
this isn't, if I were to get a mortgage today, this isn't saying that your mortgage is going to continue, your payments are going to be higher. We're saying too, if you don't get that mortgage, this is what it looks like. If I jump in at year 2, this is the point that I'm at. If I jump in at year 1, this is where I'm at.
Correct. Yeah.
If you walk in and you do purchase a home, your mortgage payment is going to stay the same. It's not going to.
Correct. That's right. Good. That's a great point. So you're locking in your payment for 30 years, essentially, right? So on this year 2 that you mentioned, yes, what was that 28 something? So you're about $400 a month more for the same house 2 years from now.
Okay, awesome. What about the appreciation? Tell me about the blue one.
This is just the appreciation of the property. It starts out at $530,000 and just goes up from there based on these numbers right here.
So on the flip side, I could see this also as an opportunity of, okay, if I buy now, I could have the difference between that 530 mark to close to over 600, 630, that's almost 100K within 3 years that I can now have a part of my investment portfolio. If I needed to do a cash out, if I needed to do a loan against my property, like I feel like there's so many opportunities that you have as a homeowner to advance your financial portfolio with having a home. And that's why I kind of want to bring it back to that stepping stone home of, maybe you needed a zero down option and it doesn't give you the perfect dream house, but within 3 years, you could be at that point to be able to have a difference to kind of slingshot you to the next area. Yes, the house that you're looking to buy is also going to increase, right? So there are going to be different factors, but I know the home that I'm in right now, if I didn't have the 2 stepping stone homes before it, there's no way I could have had a shot at it. And so starting now and saying, okay, you know what, this home meets my needs. It is a short-term solution for what I'm looking for, and it's going to give me a stepping stone opportunity for more options in the future. Being able to also have that as a factor as you're going through these different costs of also not missing out on a potential growth opportunity as well.
Yeah, exactly. And this final section down here it's kind of in these graphs, but you'll notice the secret of wealth, by the way, Tunisia, I know the secret of wealth. I've discovered it.
Tell me.
Hold on. It's cash flow,
Okay.
right? So that's why we tell people pay off your debt, all that kind of stuff, right? It's just cash flow at the end of the day. So here, this illustrates the difference in cash flow to you on an annual basis in this particular scenario. So if you, by waiting 1 year, you're spending almost $3,600. Yes, that one. $3,600 more per year out of your bank account.
Okay.
Than would have been had you locked in a year prior to that. And it gets worse from there, of course, as you go higher and higher.
For sure. No, I think it's interesting. I had a first-time home buyer, like literally before COVID took off. We were locked in on a home. We were under contract. And he's just like, I don't know, the market's kind of freaking me out. I'm not ready. Let's just cancel. So we canceled within his due diligence period. He got his earnest money back, no harm, no foul. And I'm just like looking at the market now, and like that same home has now appreciated 140,000 from when we were under contract on it. And I'm just like, man, it hasn't even been a full year. Well, no, I don't know. COVID's got all the timelines mixed, but the time period is
year, 2 years, whatever. Yeah.
Yes. That I'm just like, man, and obviously there's other factors we have to be sensitive to, but just the idea of, I want to be able to make a decision for myself that I'm secure in, but also that I'm comfortable with. So that way, if I have this payment, I know I can keep it. All of the different things are outside of just cost of waiting are going to be things that we want to talk about. But every single month, we're looking at the market from a different lens. We're going over, the cost of waiting. We're going over forecasting for what we think the future is. So we just invite you, if you're in this waiting period, to check in with us, get your own roadmap, get your own path to be able to get to that end goal. But just know that, we're here to support you in whichever way you go. And if it's not buying a house tomorrow and it ends up being 10 years from now, great. That's your journey. We're here for you regardless of whichever path that looks like.
Okay.
Anything else any other words of wisdom or wealth secret of life?
Secret of wealth being cash flow. I've never heard that before. I made it up. No, it's true. It's cash flow.
No, I think
the more money you keep, the more money you have, the more wealthy you get.
Okay. Well, anyone who's joining us, you know where to find us. Find us on social media platforms. Find us on our websites. Brian's with Security National. Brian, go ahead and give them your best contact number. They're already joining us through Brick by Brick, so they know how to get a hold of me. But how do they get a hold of you?
I can give you my number here. I should be able to show that. Should I be able to show that somewhere? It's too hard. It's 43. Yeah, it's 435-862-9000. Easy.
There you go. Easy peasy. So yeah, we'll catch you guys next month. The first week of every month we'll be here. Brian, as always, thank you for your time, and see you around.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.
All right, bye.